Welcome to day one of the Read-E-Thon. Hey everyone, welcome back to Onyx Pages. I'm in Jerry. This is August 3rd. It is day one of my daily vlog for the Read-E-Thon. I am one of the hosts. The Read-E-Thon was birthed by the lovely Books and Lala, and there are a number of co-hosts whose names and channels will be listed in the description below. I want to tell you a little bit about the books that I plan to be reading this week. I'm on vacation. I plan to vacation, and I also plan to read. So I will hopefully get through a fair number of these, but I also am going to be very gentle with myself. And on that note, I want to talk to those of you who are not fast readers. So I'm not a fast reader. I'm a slow reader. That's by custom, and it's also by choice. I like to read books slowly. I like to luxuriate in the words. I like to do research to help me understand what I'm reading. And I like to be really mindful about the ways that I read. So reading provides me with an opportunity to reflect on myself, to learn, to change, and to grow. And I can't do that if I am binge reading. I like to sip my books and let them marinate and enjoy their nuances and in their textures. So for that reason, it can be really hard to participate in readathons because often they're very short and there are lots of prompts to reach. And if you have to try and read 15, 20, 9, 4, 5 books in 7 days, it's just not realistic for my lifestyle, and it's not realistic for my enjoyment. So I know that sometimes readathons can be alienating for people who read slowly by choice or by custom or by ability, and I acknowledge that. So I'm not going to be doing a formal TBR necessarily, but I am going to let you know some of the strategies that I use to participate in readathons without overwhelming myself with a really unrealistic set of reading goals. So let's just get into what I may be reading for this week. First, I am interested in reading The Marrow Thieves. The Marrow Thieves is a novel written by Cherie Dimaline, an Aboriginal author. It is, as you can see, a book that was nominated for a number of different awards. And in this dystopian world, it is believed that the marrow inside the bones of Indigenous people can restore the lost talent of dreaming. And so I'll just leave it at that. So people want to get at those bones. And I don't really know very much about what happens after that, but I think that this story is a contemporary meditation on the genocide that was attempted against Indigenous people on Turtle Island. The book is 234 pages long, and this book would satisfy the prompts for a number of the prompts. So, a book by an Indigenous author, a book either set in a province or territory you haven't been to, or one that you have been to. I'm not sure where this one is set. I think it's across North America. And sorry, Cherie Dimaline is Métis. It is also a Canadian Book Award nominee. So this will likely satisfy 3 of the 16 prompts on the bingo board. Okay. On a similar note, the next book, I'm not going to read this in full, but I will try to read at least one chapter because this is something I want to read slowly. This is the final report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, honoring the truth and reconciling for the future. And this is I believe that it is a summary and analysis of the reports that the commission received when it put out a call to receive the stories of Indigenous people who were who were forced to participate in the residential school system. There's a lot to it. It's a very difficult history, but it is one that I want to read. So I will probably start that as well and read that slowly. That will satisfy the prompt for a book about there's anti-racism literature. There is also, I thought there was a book that was, no, just anti-racism literature. Right. Okay. The third, which would also satisfy the prompt of anti-racism literature, is Color Coded, A Legal History of Racism in Canada from 1900 to 1950. This was written by Constance Backhouse. Again, I am not going to read this full book, but I will probably read a selection from it. Maybe a selection that links the experiences of Black individuals and Indigenous individuals. And I think that there is a chapter that actually does that here. So that, yes, there is one. So I will do that. Okay, now moving from nonfiction to fiction. I am hoping to complete Harriet's Daughter. This is 150 pages long-ish. It is a middle grade / young adult novel, which I talked about in my book haul, so you can get the synopsis there. But this one was written by Norbese, and it was published in Canada, so it should satisfy a number of different prompts. So a book from a Canadian publisher. There's no nature on the cover. This would also satisfy the prompt for an immigrant or refugee story. A book by a Black author. Red on the cover. And a Canadian Book Award nominee. Also, it would satisfy the prompt for a story about a loving relationship, because at the core of this is a friendship relationship between two Black girls. Then we've got Manifest by Therese Mason-Peer. This is a chapbook of poetry written by a Canadian author, Canadian poet. This would satisfy the prompt for something that's not a novel, a book by a Black author, and so far that is it. And as I was mentioning, there are strategies for being able to win readathons, and one way to do that is to choose shorter works like chapbooks or articles or novellas. So this is obviously going to be a quick read, but it'll satisfy multiple prompts. I do hope to read this book. This is Fate of Flames. This is book 1 in the Effigies series, written by Sarah Raleigh. And this is a fantasy, young adult fantasy, and it involves a group of young people who perform magic together, but then they find out that there's someone else, one person who has more magic than all 4 of them combined, and I think there's a big battle. So it kind of gives me the energy of like The Craft, calling the corners kind of situation. And this is written by a Black woman living in southwestern Ontario. So yeah, I hope to start that. And if I do, it'll satisfy the prompt of a book by a Black author. And that might actually be it. And then we have 3 more. I am finishing The Salt Roads by Nalo Hopkinson. This is a book about a loving relationship. It does have red on the cover. It is not necessarily an immigrant or refugee story, although, yeah, I'll just leave it there. Yeah, that's probably all that this would satisfy. There's one book. This is An Ocean of Minutes. This is a time travel immigration story written by an Asian Canadian writer. This is a book about a loving relationship. It is an immigrant refugee story. It is set in a province somewhere. So there is that. I am definitely not getting to all of these, but here we are. This is Say Her Name by Zetta Elliott. Okay, so this is a book of poetry. And as you can see, there are great illustrations, and you know, the poetry is really sparsely spread out on the page, so I'll be able to get through this pretty quickly. This is also something that's not a novel, written by a Black Canadian author. So that is that. And then the final selection is Monika's Costume. This was actually written by a friend of mine. She is Nadia Hahn and has written a bunch of different books and has been nominated and won several awards. So again, this is a children's book, big illustrations and sparse text, really, really gorgeous illustrations. And this is a story about, this is an immigration related story. It is a story about a loving relationship. It has nature on the cover. It is a Canadian Book Award nominee. It has red on the cover. Yeah, so there's a lot here, a lot of prompt activity. So that is my plan. I have given you a stack of options. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I've talked about 10 pieces of writing that I am telling you that I'm going to get through this week. I will not get through all of these this week, but I have given myself a bit of a menu, a limited menu to draw from. So my plan is to do short vlogs each day and to upload them and let you know about my reading progress, what I'm enjoying. If you are interested in doing some reading together, I would encourage you to check out Quarantined Pages. Quarantine Pages is a project that I started in March of 2020 when I was joined by 6 other co-hosts, and we have put a schedule together. And if you don't already know, we host 1 hour of silent reading every single day. So if you'd like to check out the schedule and join us on Zoom, you can absolutely do that, and there'll be a link to the Quarantine Pages social media world in the description. And I'll be reading for the Read-A-Thon, and there are a couple of people who join Quarantine Pages regularly who are also going to be participating in the Read-A-Thon. So please do join us if you would like some company while you read. All right, so it is day 1 of the Read-A-Thon. Are you participating? If so, what are you going to be reading? And what is your approach to winning all the Read-A-Thon prompts? How do you do it? Are you a fast reader, a slow reader, moderate reader? What do you do? So if you are participating and if you've gotten to the rest, actually, if you're participating in the Read-A-Thon, then please put a Canadian flag in the comments. So that way I know that I can look out for those of you who are participating. And if you are not participating in the Read-A-Thon, but you have watched the video all the way to the end, then please do include a flag of a nation state that you have a relationship with, either where you're from, where you're currently living, something like that. All right, thanks for watching, and remember to read with purpose. Before I go, I would like to shout out, who would I like to shout out? Yes, so I would like to shout out Helen from Books by Lanes. She is a German booktuber. She is always ready with the tea, and she's salty, and she's brilliant and multi-talented. She's an academic. She's a great reader and philosopher. She's also a gymnast and a pianist, and she's just amazing. So if you are unfamiliar with her channel or her, then you should change that. You should change that. All right, talk to you soon. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you either later today or tomorrow.